What's going on, everybody? Almost Counts Collectibles here, and in this video we're going to be going over the Series 2 Auto Morphin Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Now, these toys didn't hit shelves until the debut of Season 3 on TV, so by the time they came out, the story had already progressed, and we were getting ready to dive into the power of the Ninjetti and all that stuff. So, as a collectible stance, that's one of the reasons why these are harder to find. And when you do find them, they're a lot more expensive than the original Auto Morphins. Because the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers that came out, they debuted a ton of those toys. They made a lot of the original Auto Morphin Rangers and villains, which is why even to this day, they are fairly easy to find. Even mint in package. You can pick them up for a very cheap price because of how many they made and how many are still in circulation. Now, with these Series 2 Auto Morphins, that is not the case. They made a very smaller amount of them, and they produced them for a lot shorter period of time. So if you can find these sealed in the package, they're going to run you anywhere from $100 to $200 probably for the red, black, and yellow Ranger. If you want to pick up the White Ranger, I've already did a previous video about that, but he is one of the more expensive Mighty Morphin Power Ranger toys you could try to pick up from the old days. He's probably going to run you, unless you find a really good deal or a special circumstance, probably a minimum of about $200. I've seen it listed for upwards of nearly $500. So just be prepared if you're trying to add that to your collection. Now, we got the White Ranger because obviously the Green Ranger lost his powers in the series and he was recreated as the White Ranger, so they re-released him. And then we also got the Yellow, Black, and Red Ranger because, as you guys will know in the show, we lost Jason, Zach, and Trini. They went off to join the Peace Corps, I believe it was, in the show because of contract. They couldn't agree on contract situations. I'm pretty sure Austin St. John and Jason David Frank didn't get along too well on the set and, behind the scenes. So there was a lot going on. Those three ended up leaving the show, but we replaced them, and the replacements we got were actually pretty good. Now, don't get me wrong. I'll take Austin St. John all day over Steve Cardenas, but I really like Johnny Young Bosch. So I was pretty happy with the way that it went, and honestly, I thought it was necessary. Because once Tommy obviously stepped in as the full-time leader of the Power Rangers, you just weren't going to be able to have Austin St. John as the Red Ranger because of the Type A personality and just the leader that he was. So there was no way they could have Tommy take over as the leader and still have Austin St. John as the Red Ranger. I just don't think it would have fit. So Steve Cardenas stepped in and took over as the Red Ranger, which he did a pretty decent job. And obviously he wasn't the Austin St. John type of person, so that allowed Tommy to take over as the full leader of the Power Rangers. And all in all, I think it worked out. So that's why they re-released these three figures, though. The point I was trying to get to is because we actually got new actors. And they are literally the exact same toy, the same mold, everything. The only thing they changed about the toys was they actually changed their head sculpt to reflect the new actor that was portraying them. So here is Aisha, the Yellow Ranger. That is her head sculpt right there. I'll show you the back of these, the packaging right here. Now, I do not have Rocky, Adam, and Aisha out of the package. I only have them in package. I'm not going to open them up just to look at their head sculpts. So this is what the back of the card actually looks like. They replaced it with the picture of the Series 2, and then the villains down here that came online for the actual Season 3 of the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger villains. So that's them down here. Now, what we will take a look at, though, is we'll look at each one of these. I'll show you the packaging. So here is Adam, Johnny Young Bosch. That is what his head sculpt looks like. As you can see, it is the exact same mold of the Black Ranger. The only thing they changed was the packaging and the head sculpt. Once again, the exact same thing on the back. And then we'll take a look at Steve Cardenas over here, Rocky. So there's his head sculpt. For the most part, for being the 90s and this being, a $5 toy, I thought the head sculpts were pretty good. And the back is the exact same as the other ones. All right, we will spend a little bit more time here on the White Ranger, though, because it is the most changed. Obviously, this is nothing like the Green Ranger. I do have him out of the packaging, so we will take a look at Tommy. His head sculpt is the same from the Green Ranger toy, but obviously you can see the figure is completely different. Alright, so I will set that right here in the background. We will get these put back together. And I will show you, first I will show you the White Ranger here. And then we will take a look at the Green Ranger just to see how much has actually changed. So the White Ranger does come with Saba, his trusty sword and sidekick. And here is up close. Now this is my childhood toy that I got from a Big Lots many, many years ago. Still in great shape, but as I covered in a different video, I will show you the only issue that I've ever had with this toy. The joints are still good. The paint is still good, but then again, as kids go, I was always very careful with my toys. I did not play with them rough. I was always kind of OCD and wanted everything to kind of remain perfect. So I did very lightly play with them, but for the most part I just collected them. But I will show you what I'm talking about when I said I had issues. So we're going to talk about the shield. So this is the White Ranger's shield. Now the way that this goes on is there is a peg on each one of the top left and right backwards. And then on the front of the shield part, there's a corresponding little hole for that peg. Now, I probably had this out of the package for maybe an hour. I auto-morphed him a couple times. I was putting the shield on and off, and I was being pretty careful with it. But at one point, I remember when I pulled the shield off, that one of the little pegs didn't look right, and it's because it broke off and actually stayed stuck inside the hole. So I was really disappointed about that, but I mean, there really is no way of getting it out of there other than drilling it out, but then the peg would be destroyed. So I just kind of left it there. And this other peg here in the back is actually strong enough by itself to keep it on there if you're not doing any hard play or anything with it. So all in all, not a total loss, but I was pretty disappointed about that. Now here is his head sculpt. And we will even do a comparison. I have Green Ranger right here just to confirm that it is the exact same head sculpt. So this is my original Green Ranger from back in the day. Now as you can see, these head sculpts are pretty much identical. Now if you want to get really nitpicky, the only thing that I noticed right off the bat is the paint on his eyebrows on the Green Ranger looked to be put on just a little bit thicker. But all in all, the head sculpt, the hair, everything came from the same mold. At least it appears that way. But as I said, the paint may have been applied a little more generously on the White Ranger, or maybe that's just my one specific toy here. I mean, that is very possible. But for the most part, nothing major changed with that. Now, with the White Ranger, you can see that they did not put any kind of Zord symbol on the chest like they did with the original Rangers. They also made his belt gold instead of the classic white with silver like they did all the other ones. And then obviously he doesn't have diamonds around his boots and his gauntlets here. He has the correct pattern. But that is the two different models, so a lot of changes made to the White Ranger. As far as paint, design, coloring, everything goes. Same head sculpt, as opposed to the changes that were made with the other Rangers, because honestly nothing changed except for the actors, so they just swapped out a new head sculpt on the original toy and re-released it. Which I do not have a problem with. I'm glad they did re-release it. Eventually, I do want to pick up, out of package, Adam, Rocky, and Aisha. I just haven't got around to doing it because I haven't really needed to do so. But when I do finally pick them up, we will do a review of them just to give you a little bit closer look. But honestly, the only changes are the head sculpts, and you can clearly see them on the packaging. That is pretty much exactly what they look like. So from, once again, a collector's standpoint, Price point, if you're trying to add these to your collection, be ready to pay a little bit more for the White Ranger, anywhere from the 200 to 500 range, depending on how quickly you want it and kind of how desperate you are to get it. If you wait around, you probably could find it maybe 150, and I'm talking mint. The card, the packaging, everything in very good shape. Now you could probably find all of these a little dinged up, the packaging a little tore up, or something like that for a little bit lower, obviously, but I'm talking about the condition that I have them here in the back, which I got lucky. I got all 4 of these. As I mentioned in a previous video, I believe I got them all 4 together, and they came in the original case that the box that they were in when they got shipped to the retailer. So these were pretty much packed fresh, very, very good shape, and I got them all for about $425, which was an absolute steal because there were 2 other White Rangers listed in even poorer condition for over $250 each at the time of purchase. Now, I get my price points from monitoring eBay. I got back into hardcore collecting Power Rangers. I had a lot of stuff from my childhood, but I really didn't start hardcore collecting again until about 2009. So for about the last 10 years, I have been actively collecting and searching and looking for Power Ranger toys. So ever since then, I have always monitored eBay, private sites, other auctions, things like that. Even if I'm traveling or something like that, I'll stop in like vintage toy stores and stuff to see what they've got and what they're asking for them. And that is pretty much where I get my intel from, constantly seeing it for sale, what people are asking for it, what it actually sells for eventually, on eBay or, other said websites. There's a lot of them out there these days. So that's where I'm getting my price points. That's what I've actually seen it listed for and actually sell for, and then what I have paid for certain things. So that's kind of where I'm getting my information. Not to say that you couldn't find something a lot cheaper. That is just a basic estimate for the trend that I have noticed over the last 10 years. So that's pretty much going to wrap up this video. This has been the Series 2 Auto Morphin Rangers that were released at the beginning of the actual Season 3 of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And if you have any questions, concerns, anything like that, please go ahead and leave them in the comments below. Stay tuned. I'm going to continue on with these videos. Work has made that kind of impossible over the last couple months. I really wanted to make more, but I'm going to make them as frequently as I can. So this has been the Series 2 Rangers, and stay tuned for my next video. As always, I will see you guys next video.